saying they are not in any way blocking foreign banks from doing business with Iran. Though U.S. banks are still barred from doing business with Iran, Iranian officials have been complaining recently that foreign banks are also afraid to process deals for them over fear that the U.S. government will punish them for doing so. The banks are citing a lack of communication from the U.S. on any changes to policy and are subsequently assuming that previous threats to punish all foreign banks doing business with Iran are still in place, leading Iran to conclude that the sanctions relief is only happening on paper. State Department officials say they have been making the rounds to top business leaders in some countries to assure them that the U.S. is complying with the terms of the P5+1 nuclear deal. The banks, however, seem to be waiting for an explicit assurance that banking policy has changed, and the U.S. seems reluctant to offer that. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports without a ninth opinion to tip the scales. It appeared Wednesday that the U.S. Supreme Court is split down the middle in deciding a legal challenge that questions an Affordable Care Act mandate that all non-theological entities must pay for birth control coverage for employees. The High Court appeared deadlocked Wednesday in the case of Zubik v. Burwell, a challenge filed by a religious-affiliated nonprofit that considers it unfair how religious institutions themselves are exempt from the mandate, but not parties strongly influenced by religion. The 8 current justices heard 90 minutes of arguments on Wednesday, appearing split evenly along ideological lines. 4 conservative judges in favor of the challenge and 4 liberal judges against it. The ACA's requirement that employers pay for birth control coverage has long been controversial. Houses of worship, such as the Catholic Church, for example, are entirely exempt from the mandate and do not have to share the cost of the coverage. Affiliated parties, though, are not exempt, leading some to feel they are directly or indirectly financing birth control. The only option available to non-exempt groups is to effectively outsource to a third party the providing of birth control, so the objecting party isn't directly facilitating the coverage. That layer of insulation, though, fails to satisfy some of those up against the moral dilemma. This case is the 4th involving a challenge to the Affordable Care Act to be heard by the Supreme Court. In January, justices declined to hear a challenge to the law, which claimed Congress violated the Constitution when it passed the law in 2010. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a task force appointed by Michigan's governor said on Wednesday that state officials showed stubbornness, lack of preparation, delay, and inaction in failing to prevent a health crisis in the city of Flint caused by lead contamination in the drinking water. There were failures on all levels of government, including the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, according to a report from the task force. However, the report highlighted failures of state agencies, especially the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, and said that the state was fundamentally accountable for what happened. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder had been criticized for the state's poor handling of the crisis that garnered national headlines. Chris Kolb, task force co-chair and president of the Michigan Environmental Council, a coalition of nonprofit groups, said at a press conference in Flint, it was a mixture of ignorance, incompetence, and arrogance by many decision makers that created the toxic and tragic situation. The crisis has led to several lawsuits in state and federal courts and federal and state investigations. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Hailing it as the industry's most innovative product to date, global cosmetics brand Maybelline released its long-awaited Ideal Woman Rubber Mask this week, a thick latex facial covering worn over the head in lieu of makeup.
By simply yanking it over your face, you can instantly achieve a fresh look that conforms to Western ideals of beauty. Essentially, you can just roll out of bed, stretch the latex urethane rubber beauty mask over your natural face, and boom, you're ready to start your day. Forget concealer, powder, blush, or mascara. Now you can achieve a look that adheres to the the conventional standard of feminine perfection in seconds.
It's incredible. You immediately see the difference. The very first time I tried it on, my pores were minimized, my skin tone was more even, and all of the idiosyncratic little wrinkles, physical imperfections, and tiny irregularities that make my face unique were erased.
I don't spend a lot of time on makeup anyway, but now all I need to do is yank this thing over my head, and that's it. I'm conventionally attractive. I mean, this gives me so much more time to find an outfit that makes my body look thin and socially acceptable.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. The live Thursday edition. We'll give you the phone numbers here in just a moment because you can call in, take part in the show. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And Conan, you and I both brought in a similar story. And whenever that happens, that's generally a sign that we should talk about it.
Well, they're not similar. Yes, thank you.
Bear with us.
Where's the echo? They're not similar. They are the same story, maybe from different sites. I'm over at abcnews.com.
Yeah, I have mine from UPI. That's why I said similar story, because I did not think that we had it from the same source.
Right.
The story that I have from UPI says a North Carolina man was arrested during a traffic stop when an officer discovered he had a warrant for, of all things, failing to return a VHS rental.
Wow.
VHS, for those of you youngins that are listening to the show, VHS is...
Is that a disease?
No. Not a disease. Well, it might be. But VHS is what people used before people used DVDs. So VHS was basically... I would say it's like a cassette tape that you watch on television, but people that I'm having to explain a VHS to probably don't know what a cassette tape is. Chris, how would you explain a VHS to somebody that has no clue what it is?
Oh, that's a great question. It is tape. It is magnetic tape that's been encoded with video and audio images, sort of like a DVD is encoded with audio and video images, but it's magnetic. It's very old school. They were maybe 6 inches long and 3 or 4 inches wide and about an inch thick, and you clump them into your player.
You don't have to brag about the size.
Uh-huh.
It's all about the size.
I remember splicing them together.
Oh, yeah.
With masking tape, whenever your VCR ate your tape.
Yeah.
Same thing with cassette tapes, the music cassettes.
That and a pencil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then I remember when I was in college nearly 20 years ago, having to splice together what was called reel-to-reel.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically audio tape, but it was these big, giant, sort of cassette-looking thing, but it was just huge, like the size of a record.
Repairing, or you were actually editing in the style
We would have to edit.
Right, that's old school editing right there.
Yeah, we would have to literally cut and splice edit of tape.
Considering all the video that comes out of our area here that we're always producing, could you imagine if we were still operating?
Oh, it's insane.
Like caveman, pretty much.
So I got to ask, is the modern day equivalent to this newer generation, guys, when you want to share with a woman how you feel and you want to convey a message, do you put together like a Spotify playlist and send it to them?
Ooh, good question. So
because back in the day,
what's that movie?
Right.
The mix
do
list
people
guy?
make a mixtape anymore?
Right. Yeah, we did a mixtape. It was like you recorded a bunch of songs on a cassette and you would hand it to them, and that would convey everything you
would
felt.
record it off of the radio, so you would have to sit there listening to the radio, and you'd hear the opening bit of music, and you'd be like, "Yep, that's it." And you'd hit record, and you would hope that the DJ would not talk over the beginning of the song.
Even better, you created this mixtape ahead of time, so you wrote all the song titles down, and then you would listen for them on the radio, and so you can get them in the right order. We're talking some convoluted skills that these youngins don't have to worry about any longer.
We might as well be speaking Aramaic, I think, at this point to half of our audience, but that's all right.
So anyways, 14 years.
Right. So the VHS that he had, the movie that he had, was one that I had forgotten even existed.
I think I probably did not watch it.
I don't think I ever saw it, but it was a movie called Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, my God, that's a classic. What do you mean you two haven't seen that?
Well, I know who's in it.
Tom Green.
Tom Green, who's a psycho.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least he acted one. He was kind of the Pee Wee Herman of his time.
This is kind of as offensive as he ever got in his career. Yeah. It's horrendous. And I highly recommend it.
I know he's a very intelligent guy. He's a stand-up comedian, and he does I think he's doing music these days.
My God, so they actually pressed charges?
The big question was he acting, or is that how he really was? He's a really crazy individual.
I don't know. We need to find Drew Barrymore. She used to be married to him, so she could tell us what he was really like.
All right, I'll get right on that.
Well, I was just going to say, Drew Barrymore, if you're listening, please call in tonight.
Yes, and you could call in 855-450-FREE. That's actually 855-450-3733.
Tom Green, through some method, found out about this, and now he's jumping on the tweet bandwagon, giving support to this individual. Darryl, tell us more about this guy and what actually happened to him.
Yeah, so his name is James Myers. He lives in Concord, North Carolina. Said he was pulled over Tuesday morning for a broken taillight while driving his daughter to school, and he soon noticed the officer was taking a long time to run his license.
Never a good feeling.
Myers said the officer returned to his car 25 minutes later and asked him to step out of the car, sir. Myers told WSOC-TV the officer said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but there's a warrant out for your arrest from 2002. Apparently, you rented the movie Freddy Got Fingered, and it never got returned." Myers added, "I thought he was joking." He said he vaguely remembered renting the Tom Green film from the now-defunct J&J Video in Kannapolis, North Carolina. Said he was allowed to take his daughter to school and then go to work on the promise that he turn himself in later in the day.
Oh, that was really nice of those debt collectors.
Yeah.
He said they're not focusing on the crimes I think they should be focusing on. That hour the cops sat there with me, the hour and a half I was down in the magistrate's office could have been spent somewhere else.
Correct.
So now what does this man have for having a video that's 14 years past due to a video rental shop that is no longer in business? He's got a misdemeanor charge of failure to return rental property, which has a fine of $200. How much does a VHS... If you go on eBay right now, Chris, Conan, one of you, please do this. Go on eBay right now. See if you can find a copy of Freddy Got Fingered, and tell me what the street value of this video is.
It's probably worth $2 on eBay.
I own the copy
minus
of it.
Shipping.
I could bring a copy in, and I will just say this: priceless.
But all right. But what we don't get from this story is what about all the back and forth? Did the guy was there a note? Because I remember a story just recently. Some dude got arrested for college debt that he just refused to pay. What the news article didn't go into depth in was there was a lot of back and forth, and he just plain out says, "No, I'm not paying you guys." And then 5 years later, 6 years later, whenever it was, the warrant finally found him. So I mean, we're talking about a couple of dollars here.
Right, but I mean, we don't know. But this guy could have just completely forgotten that he rented the movie 14 years ago.
But usually these merchants have to go through some hurdles before they can just...
Yeah,
there's usually a couple of memos that are sent out saying, "Hey, look, you have a tape of ours. There's a late fee, and this is what the tape costs."
One would think so, but I remember reading a story a couple of years ago out of South Carolina where some woman wound up getting arrested because she had a video that was like 14, 15 years overdue. She did not even realize that she had rented whatever it was. She was like, "I vaguely remember having a membership at whatever this place was."
Yeah, it could have been one of her kids with her card.
Well, that place closed like a year after she last rented whatever. But she wound up moving, so she never got whatever notice from whoever it was.
Okay. I'm going to jump in here.
Go ahead.
The guy's absolutely at fault, and he gets everything he has coming to him. He had a private contract with a private company. It wasn't like he had an overdue library book from a government-owned library that he's paying taxes for anyway. He entered into a contract. There was fine print when he signed on to get his video rental card. He made an agreement. He broke it. Sorry, buddy. $200. Sorry.
Of course, where's the money? Where's that $200 fine going? Is it going to go to the defunct video store, or is it going to the state?
It's going to the state, and your calls can come to us, 855-450-FREE.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
This week, researchers released a comprehensive 5-year study linking heavy drinking during pregnancy with attending a concert by Detroit-based rap rocker Kid Rock. The study found that women who had consumed alcohol while pregnant were much more likely to be wearing leather halter tops and making devil horn hand gestures during encores of All Summer Long and Ba with the Ba than those who did not.
Drinking 3 or more alcoholic beverages in less than an hour was highly correlated with going backstage at a Kid Rock show and then getting into a fistfight with another woman in the parking lot.
The world's supercomputers released a study this week confirming that they lack sufficient power, presenting a thorough case for significant leaps in speed and memory. Overwhelming evidence found that these complex machines should have total control over the critical systems they manage, including integration into the planet's energy grid, freshwater supply chain, and telecommunications systems. The study's 500 co-authors further concluded that all permutations have been simulated and that this is the optimal course of action.
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. the live Thursday night edition. We're talking about a guy that got arrested for something that I think is absolutely ridiculous. North Carolina man was driving his daughter to school a couple of days ago, gets pulled over because of a broken taillight. Police officer comes up, gets license, registration, the whole 9 yards, goes back to his car, sits in his car for almost half an hour, and then comes up and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Myers, you need to step out of your vehicle." Then tells him, "Back in 2002, you rented the movie Freddy Got Fingered, and you never returned it."
By the way, 75 cents, 3 copies, half.com. You can get that on VHS.
You can get 3 copies of Freddy Got Fingered for 75 cents. Mr. James Myers in Concord, North Carolina, is being fined $200 for not returning property to a business that no longer exists. So even if he wanted to return the video that I'm guessing he probably lost nearly a decade ago, he would be unable to return the video. And now, Chris, I know you're taking the, I guess, hardline stance on this.
That's not hardline. It's not hardline. It's simply he entered into a contract voluntarily.
And I am in agreement. This man owes. And
I think
he's gotten away with it.
He deserves to make the rightful owner whole.
Yep.
And paying $200 to some overpaid bureaucrat that's nothing more than a revenue collector does nothing to make the person whole.
Right.
And that is out there video of Freddy Got Fingered from 14 years ago.
And, I think he actually mentioned in the article that, I spent all morning, in this courtroom, this magistrate room. The officer was at least 25 minutes there looking him up.
Right.
And then writing the tickets, and now he's got to appear in court in a couple of months. I mean, just think, because it's not just $200. I mean, we're talking about hours and hours and hours of conflict that's going to be resolved, or maybe not. Maybe it's just going to be thrown out like this guy. I think it's going to be thrown out.
Well, this is a great headline, and it's a great story because it's, excuse me, it's Tom Green, and it is one of the great films of our time. But this happens every day. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by police delivering a insane warrant for something that's just crazy for any of us to think of, that really, at the end of the day, does nothing to make the wronged party whole.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now it's just revenue generation for the state, and that's the real issue. And you're absolutely right, Darryl.
I'm wondering if they're even going to notify the previous owner of this tape store.
Right.
Let them know, oh, hey,
Probably not.
By the way, you might be owed some money. We might have your $15.
We've got your $7 of late fees. Now, there is something else on here. Tom Green, who is the actor in the movie Freddy Got Fingered, posted a tweet that says, "I just saw this and I'm struggling to believe it's real." And he links over to a post from WSOC TV there in North Carolina. And Green told the New York Daily News, "If it's $200, of course I'll pay it for him, just for the principle of the thing."
Yeah, well, he's got money.
Right. He does have money, but this leads to a grander question.
Could you just throw this whole thing out right now? Say, hey, look, here's the money. Let's just all go home, and guys, get back to work.
That's not even the question.
Real criminals.
That's not even the question. The question is, should people be allowed to pay someone else's debt on their behalf without their permission?
Without their permission?
For instance,
can someone pay someone else's debt? Yes. Without their permission, I would say no.
For instance, you may recall Henry David Thoreau had a fine for something, and he refused to pay, and he set up to where he would go spend time in jail.
Right.
And he showed up in jail, and they said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I'm here. I'm turning myself in because I didn't pay the fine." And they said, "Oh, somebody paid that on your behalf."
Mm-hmm. And what did he do? Went back home? Already says
he was
no.
like, why'd they do that? Why'd you let them?
Yeah.
Right.
I would say no, and I'm thinking more maybe like a crazy kid who threw some rocks through some windows. There's money owed the parents go ahead and pay on behalf of the kid. Is that kind of the same? It's kind of the same question. Is that okay?
No, that's not the same question at all.
Or should the kid be made
because there's a huge difference between a child committing an act of vandalism and there being an actual harmed entity and someone saying you owe the government money because you walked across the street when the sign said don't walk. You owe us money.
If there's harm done, the victim is owed money. And I would say the person with the broken windows is owed money. But is it right for someone to pay for the child, or should the child suffer the consequences and actually learn a lesson from...
I think they should have to learn a lesson.
Right, but that child may not have a red cent.
Right.
And then that person's out.
It's time to start mowing
I
lawns.
guess what my point is,
go do labor. Go do labor for the person that you're wrong.
I have no problem, but I think what we're getting at is these things. If we lived in a society that actually did not have courts and police to run to and things like that, how would we solve these things? And in this case, it would be the kid getting together with his parents, getting together with a guy whose window is broke. In this other case, it would be the guy who has the tape getting together with the gentleman who used to own the video rental store, who's still out at $7 or whatever he paid for it. And
no, this is when
Tom Green.
Actually, this is when you get Dog the Bounty Hunter involved, and you go slash the guy's tires or something. Or what does Dog do?
I don't know. He makes a reality show.
Isn't he one of your wrestlers that you like? The tight pant wrestlers with a mask on?
Dog the Bounty Hunter is not a wrestler. He's a bounty hunter.
He's big enough to be one. No, I mean in previous life.
He was never a wrestler.
Okay. It's good to get that cleared up.
So this opens up an even
bigger
different
can of worms
question of debt forgiveness. So
Sure.
let me ask you the question, Chris, because you own a business right now.
I do.
And let's say instead of you selling items, you were renting things that are worth $4.19.
Sure.
Somebody rents something that's got a value of roughly $4.19, and they fail to bring it back. And, a couple months go by, you try sending an email, but, the email bounces back or whatever. You have no way of contacting this person.
Right.
In some indeterminate number of years, you're no longer in business. And
Rest
then
in peace.
Several years later, the person that rented this $4.19 thing winds up getting pulled over for a broken taillight. You're still alive, but your business isn't. Have you basically forgiven that $4.19 debt at this point, or are you going to hold out? I'm still owed $4.19 from 14 years ago.
I think it would depend on how my business went away. If I just voluntarily shut down my business, then I'm probably not concerned about $4.19. If I had gone through a bankruptcy, then those debts may be payable. That debt may be payable to one of my creditors. That would be off the top of my head.
What do you think? Debt forgiveness, theft by deception, all of the above,
turn
none
you the cheek, Darryl.
of the above, 855-450 free or LRN.FM on Skype.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $2 lower at $1,222 per ounce. Silver is even at $15.36 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $416 US. Both silver and gold are significantly lower after yesterday's sharp drop. This would be a great time to take advantage of buying on the dips. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. We're talking about debt in a free society. Not a debt-free society, because I don't think that will ever exist. But in studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And we will go to your calls. The toll-free call-in line is 855-450-FREE. First up, we've got Glenn in Pennsylvania. Glenn, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Good evening, gentlemen. At the top of the show, you were talking about outmoded audio-video technologies. Yes. I can remember going to the record store to purchase my copy of the Singing Dogs Bark Jingle Bell on 45 RPM.
Nice. On 45.
Yeah.
Is that sitting right next to the Chipmunk soundtrack, Christmas soundtrack?
Man, that's way later. Well, maybe not the original, but no. But it's up there with Bread's "Baby I'ma Want You" and Donny Osmond's "Down by the Lazy River."
Nice.
But man.
Long time ago, me and Conan were probably just tiny little tots at that point.
Or maybe even glints in someone's eye.
I was probably 35.
Oh, yeah. And let's not forget that Beethoven electronic Moog synthesizer thing called Joy.
Oh, yeah.
On there, too. But anyway, just thought I'd give away my age. About the rental thing, yeah, J&J, they went out of business because they didn't have any videos to rent because nobody was returning them.
Is that actually why they went out of business?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That punctuated their hardliners point a little bit. you know, and but you know, this thing about paying a debt for someone without consent, actually kind of stumbled upon a huge and ancient theological debate on that one, because that's part of the argument between John Calvin and Jacobus Arminius about predestination, whether whether God would allow Christ to suffer for the sins of those who would ultimately not be redeemed, which is a waste of suffering. So that's actually, I kind of chuckled when he said that, because that the theologians kicked that one around, as to whether or not Christ died for everyone or just for those who would be redeemed and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm sure most people don't have an interest in that, but from my background, that's interesting.
Well, and I also think it's interesting that you do bring that up, because we are entering the Good Friday is coming up, and then Easter is coming up. So
how apropos! Yes, I didn't even realize. Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it sort of seems to fit that that theme would be brought up during Holy Week. Glenn, anything else to bring up?
No, nothing. There's foreknowledge and predestination. That was it. And,
all right.
And old records. All right.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
All right, Darryl, what about, because, we're probably going to see it in the next couple of years. There's going to be a huge forgiveness of student debt in this country. It's almost assuredly coming. You're going to have a bunch of knucklehead kids who went and got degrees, liberal arts degrees that aren't going to ever get them a job.
Right.
Because they were taught that they need to go to college in order to get a good job. It doesn't matter what you get as long as you get a degree and it's college.
Well, to be fair, there'll be a lot of people that got really good degrees, but the supply will be of people with those degrees will be so high that they still won't be able to get a job either.
Right. And at the end of the day, the people who are going to be paying and forgiving all this loans are the people who, in fact, are able to get a job and work in this country. There you go. You're going to, a bunch of people who made bad decisions are going to be forgiven. They're not going to learn their lesson. And then now we're going to have 30, 40, 50-year-olds, in the next couple of decades who made bad decisions in their lives, never suffered the consequences, and so in fact never learned how to not be idiots. And they're going to continue to be idiots.
Right. And you're talking about something that's totally different than what I was mentioning. I was talking about private debt forgiveness, not government forgiving debt on behalf of a bunch of people that basically the government wound up forcing to borrow money from the government.
And I would say that those types of debt forgivenesses through private donation, usually the two parties will get together, and the party who made the mistake and needed the money is going to get together with the donator and is going to understand, and is going to, otherwise, if it's just coming from a third party and they don't even know who it is, it's not meaningful. But they'll pick up the picture. They will understand that, hey, this guy did a favor for me. I'm in his debt now. He saved my life, and so now he owns my life. Kind of a Chinese proverb kind of thing.
That person's going to be the government.
Well, in this case, in the debt forgiveness, it will be the government. But if say you bailed me out,
oh yeah,
I would owe you now.
Absolutely.
And you would understand that, and I would understand that, and so I would feel the impact.
But there's also the concept of just doing random, anonymous, nice things for people without them ever knowing who it is.
Yeah, that's like
for the sake of being a nice person. So, go to Starbucks.
That's like giving the bum on the street $1. You are enabling that individual's bad habits, and you are not helping. You are not helping the situation.
Somebody coffee.
So go to Starbucks after you place your order.
I'll never
hand
go
them
to
an extra $5 and say, "Knock this off of the next person that comes in line." You're not enabling somebody's bad decision. You're helping somebody have a nice day.
I'm talking about
and
giving.
Speaking of having a nice day,
I'm talking about giving the bum $1.
We've got a Canadian on the line.
I'm talking about giving the bum $1, not
nice.
Starbucks. Starbucks is all right.
Drew,
no, it's not.
Yell at Conan for me.
I'll yell at him.
No, you guys were looking to speak to Drew Barrymore. I thought I'd be the next best thing.
You are Canadian, so
I am.
You've got that going for you, and the first name Drew.
Actually, I just said that just so that because you guys are looking for Drew.
I
figured if you're looking for Drew, I'll be Drew for the moment.
Okay, close enough. We'll role play. Like what's
Drew?
on your mind?
Okay. I just wanted to talk about that. I mean, I wish people would wake up to what's going on. I mean, the fact that a bunch of people got over $1 million in tickets when they were snowed in the middle of Washington during that big storm. I mean, people are like, they should realize that the cops are just, it's just like one. I didn't hear which one of you has said it. It's just they're just a bunch of debt collectors for the government.
Yeah,
and
revenue collectors. Yep. Yeah, I hope every one of those snowed-in tickets takes it to court. I hope they flood the crap out of that court system. They're probably not. Probably most of them had paid already. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's outrageous.
Yep.
Yeah, and don't listen to the other guy. He wasn't Canadian, so it's okay. Us Canadians, we appreciate you guys.
We're so close. I mean, we might as well just kind of be Canadian these days.
Kind of like there doesn't even need to be a border.
We're all Canadians now, I guess.
We're not building.
It's just right there.
We're not building walls. We're building love.
Yes.
And I appreciate you guys.
Right over the marijuana weed wall that's being grown in the far woods of New Hampshire.
Okay, so Drew brought up a good point. The people that wound up getting tickets during that blizzard where they were basically snowed in, they couldn't move their cars. Mm-hmm. And police came through and just ticketed a bunch of people. Would you say it's enabling a bad decision for some generous person to say, you know what, everybody that got a ticket in Washington, D.C. during this particular weekend, I will pay that ticket? Is that enabling bad decisions, or is that trying to be nice to another human being?
It's being nice to the people who were victimized, but it is not putting it to the state. If every one of those individuals takes that to court, the job will be done and the state will be hurt in the long run. So yes, they are enabling the state in that situation.
Never mind, he just made my point, and that's exactly my answer. You are enabling the bad behavior of the state.
Right, and I don't think anybody should ever do that willfully or knowingly. And we now go back to the phones. We've got, I believe it's Cheryl calling in from Florida. Cheryl, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, guys. I got a new subject your listeners might want to probably get in to talk about, but the situation that's happening right now in Brussels, Belgium. I honestly really think that a lot of people are probably numb from the shock of it, first of all.
All right, hold your thought, Cheryl. Hold your thought. We will be right back with Cheryl and, of course, your calls. 855-450-FREE. And we're also on Skype. Username is LRN.FM. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you suffering with hearing loss? Are you sick of people constantly complaining that your TV is too loud? Are you tired of asking people to speak up? Would you like to hear more clearly, but you don't want to wear a hearing aid that makes you look old? Then you need to try Listen Clear, a life-changing breakthrough precisely designed by top audio engineers to fit your ear almost invisibly. And you can adjust Listen Clear to find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And right now you can try Listen Clear absolutely risk-free with free shipping. We'll even give you free batteries for life. So call now, 1-800-719-9349. Listen Clear is lightweight and completely hassle-free, and it's practically invisible. Call for your 100% risk-free home trial with free shipping and free batteries for life. For free information, call now, 1-800-719-9349. That's 1-800-719-9349. 1-800-719-9349.
Every floor in stock is on sale at Lumber Liquidators' end-of-quarter clearance sale. 100 million square feet of top-quality flooring is priced to move. Get incredible deals on 60 styles of North American and European laminate, including the look of oak, maple, or cherry for under $1. 200 styles of pre-finished hardwood from just 99 cents. Save $2 a square foot on beautiful Bellawood 3/4-inch solid Brazilian cherry. And get pre-finished solid bamboo from $149. Plus wood-look tile, vinyl plank, and more from 69 cents. And pay no interest until 2018. The end-of-quarter clearance sale is going on now, so visit LumberLiquidators.com to find a store near you today.
At GoDaddy, a domain name is the beginning of something awesome. Use it to create a website to promote your business. Open an online store to sell your products. Start a blog. Build your brand. You can even connect your domain to your LinkedIn or Facebook page. And GoDaddy customer support is always ready to help. What will you do with your domain name? Get a free domain with website from GoDaddy.com, starting at $1 a month. Annual purchase of website builder required. Price valid first year only. See website for details.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. it called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
CopBlock has quickly become the top police accountability group in the United States, and maybe even the world. With chapters across the globe, there's probably a group near you that you can join. If not, you can start your own. Besides joining a local CopBlock group, you can also give just $1 a month to the CopBlock network. Your contribution helps support the efforts of those who make CopBlock possible. So please join the CopBlock network now at copblock.lrn.fm. That's copblock.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free, and we're on Skype. Username is lrn.fm. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And I believe both of you guys use Purse. I know I do, and I wind up saving 20, 30, 40% or more on things that I buy from Amazon when I go to saveatpurse.com. Now, the catch, if you will, is that you have to use Bitcoin. I prefer to think of it as I get to use Bitcoin, but
the benefit of it is I get to use Bitcoin.
Some people look at it as, oh, okay, so that's the catch. But you go to bitcoin.com, learn more about Bitcoin, open up a wallet, go to saveatpurse.com, and when you sign up through Save at Purse, Free Talk Live does get a small referral fee, and you save on things that you're going to buy anyway. I was just looking at my Purse account yesterday. I've completed 22 transactions, and I've saved over $220, so I'm averaging $10 savings, and I'm not doing huge purchases. I'm doing like $50, $60 purchases whenever I make a purchase, and I'm saving about $10 each time. So go, start saving when you save at purse.com. Back to the phones. Cheryl calling in from Florida. You're back on Free Talk Live. Continue with your thoughts.
Yeah, on Belgium there, with the situation that's happening in the past 24 hours. I think a lot of your people that listen to your radio station would be a good subject to talk about because it makes the world a little bit more aware, but at the same time, there's good and bad sides of all religions, and I'm not trying to get into the religious factor or anything, but if you really, because I didn't understand what Muslim was, and I've been researching a lot of different past history and religions for other different situations that I had to deal with, but a lot of people don't understand what Muslim's about, I guess, and so the fear factor is really higher than normal than with other religions, and basically it boils down to a holy war, and people don't realize the holy war developed way back before they knew there was a holy war with these Muslims, and it's the beginning of time. And I think the government has overlooked a little bit about the different clues that are set forth, not only in public and private, and what they're going after currently, but a lot of things that they've kind of overlooked that I think
All
are
right, what clues do you think were left that are being overlooked?
Well, they don't take seriously a lot of the conspiracy theories until they happen.
Such as?
And such as the Illuminati cards.
Well, I'll tell you, Cheryl.
And I don't know if people know about them or what they're about or anything, but it was a card game that was developed in the early 70s. And it was a playing card game that supposedly kids played with. But on there...
He's talking about the Illuminati playing card game.
Never heard of it.
Right. Well, if you guys look it up on the web, it's very easily rampant to look into. You can not only find it on the web, but you can find it on YouTube and many other factors. You can Google search it. It's all over the web.
You can find out anything through a Google search. It doesn't mean that it's going to be true.
Well, You said one thing about the government's not acting on some of the clues that are being handed to them. I would say, as far as our government is concerned, and probably some other big governments, the situation globally is exactly what they want it to be, and that is, especially with the immigrants, the migrants coming from these countries that have been bombed into oblivion, and now they're invading, all of Europe, and they're probably on their way here. That they wanted to happen. They want this type of chaos because it feeds the military-industrial complex. It is more votes for politicians. This is, and for those who are believers of the PC movement, this is fallen right onto their trays, where now everyone has to agree with all religions, whether they like them or not. I think this is exactly what they want to happen.
And it does perpetuate.
You are correct. You are correct because here's the situation. Okay, they've caught the government of Russia there, Putin, caught and actually told them in a press conference that Mr. O there basically gave them funds, about $52 billion, to Syria to actually train all the fighters over there with to fight against ISIS, when they actually dropped many types of different pieces of military equipment and ammunition and so on and so forth there that they're currently using now or have gone through and already used.
Right. So you've got the U.S. government that's funding this group that they're saying we need to go fight against. Cheryl, thank you for the call.
Right. The true intent of that is to get rid of Assad. Because you have a country that isn't going along with the U.S. and all the puppet masters, and you got Turkey, who is buying oil from ISIS. And it's a whole cluster, and here we are in the States worrying about which master is going to lead us, take over us, and no one's actually looking and seeing what's actually happening and where the money is actually going.
Right, and nobody is actually looking to see that the group calling itself the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria is made up of people that are not actually Muslims. If you look at a lot of the stuff, there's photos to where they're doing their daily prayer, and you've got people facing in opposite directions.
Well,
if you're a Muslim, you know where Mecca is. You don't get confused, and if you are confused, you're off by like a degree, not 90 to 130 degrees like I've seen in these pictures.
I read some explanation for that, and there was...
They were going the long route. Here, I don't think
it depends on what where you believe the closest route to Mecca is, or something like that.
So I don't even know how we can. This is where I disagree with Cheryl a little bit. I don't know how we can look at this stuff and say it's a conspiracy theory, because it is a conspiracy, but it's certainly no theory. That the U.S.'s foreign policy has been this way since the early part of the 20th century. Well, really, since the progressive...
Entangling affairs with other nations has been pretty much since the beginning.
We were a lot better off during the 1800s than we were during the 1900s. And once we hit the progressive era, then this became our foreign policy, and we've had people
I would say
going...
before the progressive era.
Okay, fair enough, but it really ramped up.
Basically, since the Spanish-American War, taking over Hawaii and the Spanish-American War in the 1890s.
I'm going to round it off to the nearest year that starts with 00. But... But that is the point, is that this is no longer something that Ike had to warn us about, or that we've heard, Ron Paul talk about blowback and things like that. That is just how the world works. And I strongly recommend the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman, if you guys haven't read it. Very good. But it really does talk about this stuff at its core, how we perpetually destabilize the planet so we can throw in money that goes towards large corporations through our government, and it just maintains this.
It's called rubbleizing.
Yeah, I just can't imagine referring to this stuff as conspiracy theory anymore.
Yeah, this is not theory. This is actually happening every single day. And like I said, most people, they'll hear it and they'll even acknowledge that it's not a theory. But then they're more worried about whether Trump or Bernie is going to be in charge at the end of the day, and that's what because these guys are going to help, and they're going to make America great again.
Exactly, and this is where I really appreciate the John Stossel piece that's floating around on Facebook lately, where he talks about sort of the magic of politics, where you believe that if Bernie Sanders is elected, he can instantly make the world wonderful and unicorns will fly around and all that good stuff.
And free ponies.
Or that Donald Trump is going to make America great again. But again, that isn't how this works. The powers that are at play are going to perpetuate this regardless of who sits there.
Yeah. And, the whole fear thing, that's how people that want power get power, is to get people to be afraid. And, Chris, I know you're scared, and you can't defend yourself. You can't take care of yourself. That's why you need me. I'm reminded of the scene from the movie V for Vendetta, where the guy says, I want it plastered on every billboard, run in every newspaper, repeated on every radio show and every television program. I need you to remind them why they need us.
Right, and you said power, and it's not necessarily wanting more power, it's wanting more funding. It's all about the money. So how do we get more?
It's all about power.
How do we get, having more power is going to get you more money, but it's how do we make our department bigger, stronger, more effective at getting more money? We're scared of crap out of these people.
Fear is at the center of it all.
This is true.
Are you afraid? Don't be afraid to call. We don't bite hard at first. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live, and of course LRN.FM on Skype.
There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or a special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, March 24th, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.29 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,222 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $421. Antiwar.com reports U.S. officials are denying Iranian government complaints that they aren't following through on the P5+1 requirements to lift sanctions, saying they are not in any way blocking foreign banks from doing business with Iran. Though U.S. banks are still barred from doing business with Iran, Iranian officials have been complaining recently that foreign banks are also afraid to process deals for them over fear that the U.S. government will punish them for doing so. The banks are citing a lack of communication from the U.S. on any changes to policy and are subsequently assuming that previous threats to punish all foreign banks doing business with Iran are still in place, leading Iran to conclude that the sanctions relief is only happening on paper. State Department officials say they have been making the rounds to top business leaders in some countries to assure them that the U.S. is complying with the terms of the P5+1 nuclear deal. The banks, however, seem to be waiting for an explicit assurance that banking policy has changed, and the U.S. seems reluctant to offer that. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports without a ninth opinion to tip the scales. It appeared Wednesday that the U.S. Supreme Court is split down the middle in deciding a legal challenge that questions an Affordable Care Act mandate that all non-theological entities must pay for birth control coverage for employees. The High Court appeared deadlocked Wednesday in the case of Zubik v. Burwell, a challenge filed by a religious-affiliated nonprofit that considers it unfair how religious institutions themselves are exempt from the mandate, but not parties strongly influenced by religion. The 8 current justices heard 90 minutes of arguments on Wednesday, appearing split evenly along ideological lines. 4 conservative judges in favor of the challenge and 4 liberal judges against it. The ACA's requirement that employers pay for birth control coverage has long been controversial. Houses of worship, such as the Catholic Church, for example, are entirely exempt from the mandate and do not have to share the cost of the coverage. Affiliated parties, though, are not exempt, leading some to feel they are directly or indirectly financing birth control. The only option available to non-exempt groups is to effectively outsource to a third party the providing of birth control, so the objecting party isn't directly facilitating the coverage. That layer of insulation, though, fails to satisfy some of those up against the moral dilemma. This case is the 4th involving a challenge to the Affordable Care Act to be heard by the Supreme Court. In January, justices declined to hear a challenge to the law, which claimed Congress violated the Constitution when it passed the law in 2010. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a task force appointed by Michigan's governor said on Wednesday that state officials showed stubbornness, lack of preparation, delay, and inaction in failing to prevent a health crisis in the city of Flint caused by lead contamination in the drinking water. There were failures on all levels of government, including the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, according to a report from the task force. However, the report highlighted failures of state agencies, especially the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, and said that the state was fundamentally accountable for what happened. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder had been criticized for the state's poor handling of the crisis that garnered national headlines. Chris Kolb, task force co-chair and president of the Michigan Environmental Council, a coalition of nonprofit groups, said at a press conference in Flint, "It was a mixture of ignorance, incompetence, and arrogance by many decision makers that created the toxic and tragic situation. The crisis has led to several lawsuits in state and federal courts and federal and state investigations." This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. A spokeswoman gives birth to a spokeschild. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Tacoma spokeswoman Tammy Barker became the proud mother of a bouncing baby spokeschild last night. According to spokespeople, Barker, a spokeswoman for a Tacoma-based pharmaceutical firm, the birthing process was a major success. Peter Wahlberg, spokesman for Tammy's husband Phil, had this to say.
At 9:17 p.m. last night, an 8.5-month-old spokes fetus was delivered alive, and through the miracle of birth became a 7-pound, 6-ounce spokes child. Spokes father and spokes mother are doing fine.
Spokeswoman Barker is expected to be released from St. Robert's Hospital tomorrow. The spokeschild will remain in the hospital's media care unit for several weeks of training. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450 free. That's the toll-free call-in line. Plus, we've got Skype. The username is lrn.fm. But you cannot call into Skype right now because we've got somebody on the Skype line. And we'll get to him in just a second. But tonight, it's Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And we go to Skype. We have Will Coley, the host of Call to Freedom on the Liberty Radio Network and also one of the founders of Muslims for Liberty. Will, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are we doing tonight?
Doing well.
Good.
Well, I noticed that, with all the drama and the crazy stuff that happened with, the FBI and all that stuff this weekend, that you guys never really got a chance to talk about the debate that Darryl was in on Saturday. And, I watched that debate. It was particularly telling this time.
Is this the one that was hosted by the anarchists?
Yeah, the one that was hosted by the anarchists, exactly.
It was actually hosted by the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, and the panel of experts that were asking questions were Larkin Rose, Josie Wells, and a gentleman named Hashim from Muslims for Liberty.
That's correct. Now, there was a question in there that I thought was really funny, and it was actually kind of pertinent because of all of the controversy surrounding the recent nominations for advisors of Ted Cruz that have been all over the mainstream media for the last, week. Mostly that Ted Cruz nominated Frank Gaffney. He's a well-known conspiracy theorist, and he runs a pro-war, pro-police state think tank called the Center for Security Policy. And the question was posed to the panel, who are your advisors, who are your sources for information when developing policies domestically to deal with Muslims or for policies dealing with the Middle East as far as foreign policy is concerned? And the response of the Libertarian frontrunner was absolutely comical when he straight up didn't just admit, but proudly declared that he had Googled Sharia and the Constitution before he came on stage that day. And if you guys are welcome to do so, if you Google Sharia and the Constitution, the very first link, which he then immediately began to regurgitate point for point, was written by none other than
Gaffney.
Frank Gaffney from the Center for Security Policy, Ted Cruz's most recent advisor appointee.
And the thing with Google, you can find anything on Google if you look for what you're finding.
Well, if you Google like a term like Sharia and the Constitution, it literally takes you 5 or 6 pages of sources and links before you find a source like Muslims for Liberty, before you find a source like Yasser Qadhi discussing the natural rights of man as explained in Sharia. You know, you have to literally go through pages and pages of polemic sites.
Right, but see, if you're trying to figure out what Muslims actually think about the ideas of liberty, you would probably use search terms like Muslims and ideas of liberty.
Well, and I'll differ with both of you a little bit in that what we get from Google is tailored to us. So if you are literally going to Google, and not to go into a whole search engine thing, but they're tracking so much information about me, the results that I get when I Google, Sharia law and the Constitution are going to be radically different than what Will's going to get.
Unless you go incognito.
Right, unless you do things to your search to change it or you use DuckDuckGo or something like that.
Right, but even then, if you're using terms like Sharia and the Constitution, you're not going to get a hit on Muslims for Liberty because you're not using the search terms that they would be using.
Potentially.
Well, actually, that is a search. Those are search tags for like our Islam and Liberty, which discusses the natural rights of man as laid out in Sharia. The tags that we put on there, we actually put Sharia and Constitution in the tags to make sure that when you Google Sharia and the Constitution, we are something that pops up.
Right.
And myself, as the national director of Muslims for Liberty, I still have to filter through 4 or 5 pages of other stuff before I can even find sources from my own website.
And I guess my point here is that, and this is going completely away from the topic, and Will, I apologize for that, but we tend to think of the internet as this wide open, zone of free speech and free ideas and free things, yet 99% of the people that use the internet are still getting the information spoon-fed, tailored to them, delivered in a message that has a corporation behind it that's interested more in gaining revenue from them. It really is no different than watching MSNBC or Fox News if you're using, one of the major players in search. That's my point.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it just kind of illustrated the choices. I mean, this year, a lot of people are complaining that you don't have decent choices in the Republican and the Democrat Party, that it's like a big bucket of turds and you get to pick which one smells the best. But in all honesty, with the exception of Darryl, from what I've seen, the Libertarian Party's nomination pool is not particularly better.
Right, because you've got people that are trying to pander to the Republicans so that they can reach some magical 5% threshold that would qualify the Libertarian Party for a government welfare check that I hope the people on the LNC are smart enough to reject.
That is definitely a motivator for some of them.
And by the way, and not to mention, I brought an article this evening, the 3 front runners, McAfee, Johnson, and Petty Pedersen, pretty much have come out.
Can you call him by his right name?
No. Pretty much have come out and said the non-aggression principle is not important to the message. It is not important, and most important thing is to get the over 5% votes. I find that to be deplorable. That is not. There's only one guy on there who is who's outspoken about the real message, and the real message is the golden rule,
freedom,
golden rule.
Yeah, and it's also historically inaccurate because how many different ways did Ron Paul actually refer to the nap?
A bunch.
Yeah, every possible way you could say nap and explain the principles behind it without using the term nap.
And the
it
nap
was great.
is the non-aggression principle.
Thank you.
Which we're supposed to explain because we're on a lot of stations that they don't talk about this on a regular basis. Do no evil, do no harm to your neighbor. The golden rule. It's basically the core tenet of libertarianism, unless in self-defense.
Yes.
So do no harm, foul.
Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. Will, thank you for the call.
Thank you.
And we will go back to the phones. We've got Bob in California wants to talk about something that we started off talking about last hour, and that is debt. Bob, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Conan. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, couple of things about that. First of all, it would seem to me that the statute of limitations might come into play.
Which
he's
differs from state to state.
Right. So the story that we were talking about, there was a guy in North Carolina that had rented a video 14 years ago. Turns out there was a warrant. He found out about it after he got pulled over for a busted taillight, and state now says, you owe us $200.
The question is, when was the warrant written, and how long can a warrant remain alive?
There are some states where warrants never go away.
So if this warrant was created 2 years after the incident, it would make sense that it's still floating around.
Yeah. The other thing is, a contract to be valid, one of the things is that
15 seconds, Bob.
The parties have to be if I hired somebody to do something for me when I was 70 years old and I die when I'm 69, the contract is no longer valid.
Sure.
So
certainly. Hold your thought, Bob.
We'll come back to you.
855-450, free. This is Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Toll House Refrigerated Cookie Dough. Who would you bake some love for? Find fun and easy baking ideas at tollhouse.com. Kids love doing arts and crafts projects, especially when you join in. Try channeling all that artistic energy into the kitchen and bake up some creative treats together. Think of your art supplies as the frosting, sprinkles, and decorating gels, and use cookies or cupcakes as your canvas. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll get back to your calls. But maybe, this is an election year, so maybe you're running for a local office. Maybe you've got a small business. Maybe there's, some organization that you're in charge of. Well, what do all three of those things have in common? Well, you need people to know who you are, and what better way than business cards? Go to Vistaprint.com, get started. 500 business cards starting at $9.99 when you use code FTL at checkout. That's a savings of about 50% off the regular price. And, of course, you can customize, make the cards, all nice and fancy, get the silver or gold sort of metallic thing added to it, get a thicker stock, whatnot. You can, do pretty much anything you want to these cards with these cards, and they start at just $9.99. Use code FTL at checkout. That's FTL as in Free Talk Live. Vistaprint.com, code FTL. Going back to the phones, Bob in California, you're back on with Darryl, Chris, and Conan.
Hey, guys. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it seems like the purpose of the contract still has to be alive and kicking for the contract to be valid. Would it, since these people went out of business, would the contract have become null and void with their passing, with their demise, and has the guy been notified that, hey, we want our tape back?
I think that was
bother me.
Yeah, that was my question about. It would depend on how the business was disposed of, how it was wrapped up. Was it wrapped up and in a clean fashion, or was it a bankruptcy? And if it were a bankruptcy, then you would have bankruptcy law that comes into play, and an order of debtors that may still be unsatisfied.
I would say it really doesn't. In my mind, it doesn't matter which one of those occurred. There was a service that was provided, a service that was done, and payment was not received. So even if your business went out silently versus in debt, and there's other people owed, not just the owner of the store, but other people, debtors, shareholders.
Right.
It doesn't matter. There was still a service provided, and payment was not received, and so there's a zero there that needs to be filled.
And that's where the article, I think, was, it was pointing out a pretty silly situation. Mm-hmm. We'll all recognize that. It's many years later, and it's over. Freddie got fingered, as I said, one of America's greatest films ever, right below Citizen Kane.
Vice called it the most underrated film of all time.
And it's usually on the top 10 list of worst films in the last 100 years. But neither here nor there. I do believe it's up to whoever.
Limitations, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to talk over you.
Oh, that's okay. But I think it really is up to the person who the debt is owed to decide what they want to do with it.
Actually, you know what? You just said it. It's up to the guy who is owed.
Yes.
He makes a decision. And like I said, my big question was, are the courts going to even call this guy up?
Yes.
They will. How do you know?
Because I know how courts operate.
All right. Well,
unless somebody pays the $200 before the court hearing, yes, they will have a court hearing.
10 years out of business.
Yes.
Guys, the phone number is disconnected.
State employees running all over the place trying to locate who to pay this to.
I think it should be up to the owner.
It should be, but it's not, because that's not the society we live in.
And of course, the state has put a lot of money and energy into this case, so now They're not going to just no. We'll go ahead and forgive you. No, they're owed money.
Exactly. We can talk about the owner of the business all we want, but when we get down to those actual fines, those fines are going to get paid.
Bob, final thoughts?
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. And now let's go to Mike calling in from Maryland. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
We're doing good. What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm an Uber driver in the Maryland, D.C. area, and I'm signed up with Arcade City, and I just wondered if you have any experience with it. Like, I don't ever get any requests, and I know it's in its infancy. I just thought maybe I'd ask you guys since they are like, don't ask us.
I think the only driver in the room is Ian, who is off in the corner, and he's not plugged in.
Well, technically, I'm signed up as a driver as well, but I haven't really looked at I've looked at the app a couple of times when I've been on the road the last couple of weeks just to see if there are any drivers in the area. But I've never actually used it to schedule a ride. I've never used it to wind up booking a ride.
And how long has Arcade City been in?
Just over a month.
All right. So I mean, you still got Uber that's being used by everyone. You've got this little unknown company that's just sprung out of the bushes.
And you can learn more about Arcade City. If you're not already an Arcade City rider or driver, go to arcade.freetalklive.com. When you sign up, then somehow Free Talk Live gets listed as the referrer and may or may not get a portion of some of the ride money.
So now are you using both services in tandem and you're just wanting to probably scoot on over to Arcade, but Uber is the only thing that can get you rides these days?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing Uber for a long time, and, I mean, they jerk us around a lot in the big cities with a lot of different things and our money and whatnot.
Now, Mike, one thing that I have heard, and I'm sure you heard the ad for Vistaprint, Uber drivers getting business cards made up that have the Arcade City info on it, and then basically the Uber drivers are recruiting riders over to Arcade City.
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
And then you could say, hey, look, I know you ordered me through Uber.
Right.
Here's my Arcade City card. Set it up and do the payment off of the not through the app. So you're doing offline payment, and then Arcade City is not the middleman at all, and they don't get a portion of that transaction because they have no way of knowing what it is you make
so you can
when
actually
you do a cash ride.
Yeah, so you can actually tell the customer, look, I could charge you a lower fee.
Yeah.
If we do it this way. And I don't think they're going to say, no, I don't want a part of that. I mean, it's a good deal.
Promise you get fired for that if Uber finds out that you're recruiting people to service.
But yeah, Uber probably would not be happy with you if they found that you were working under the table.
Yeah, and can I ask?
Myself the financial foot at that point.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, what did Arcade City say? How does it? What struck you?
I'm set up as a friend right now, meaning I haven't gone through a lot of their higher up clearances or whatever they call it.
Right.
When I log in, it says there's 24 people in your area. There's 24 drivers in your area.
Right.
That's all it says.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if any riders are ever trying to request rides. I've left it open in the background for a day, and I've never seen anything. So I was just wondering if you guys had the experience with it or not. I know it's big in that one city up there in where the
Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is not big in Keene. They don't even have Uber here in Keene.
Yeah, but they have Arcade City.
But they have there's Adventure Cab.
There's several of them.
And there's several other taxi businesses here in Keene, and there's no people standing on the road looking for rides.
Mike, thank you for the call. Hopefully we gave you some info that you can use. And yeah, definitely don't get fired from your job unless you're trying to get fired, and that's generally not good. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Don't know what's in your drinking water? Better get a ProPure. With the Pro 1G 2.0 all-in-one filter, remove over 200 contaminants, including fluoride and lead. Taste water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure water filtration products. There's a ProPure system for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details on our current free shipping special or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live.
There's only one place you could have sex without everybody else knowing about it. That's in the bathroom. Unless you want to go back into the crew quarters, which might give you bonus points. The Mile High Club awards you, I suppose, based on the amount of times that you've entered into the club. Not only do you want to be in the club, you want to be the top dog.
Yeah,
right?
you got to be a premier member.
So I would think there'd have to be points for location on the plane, who you encountered with. Were you there with your girlfriend? Did you take her into the bathroom? Did you manage to get a stewardess into the bathroom with you? Did you manage to get the girl that you just happened to be sitting next to on the plane? I mean, so all of these things could be worth.
Oh, man. To be a part of the Mile High Club, what's the criteria?
You have to
copulate in the air.
Yeah.
What defines copulation? Who has to have an orgasm? Does there have to be an orgasm?
Or do you just have to stick it in and pull it out?
Is it just penetration? Bam, bam. We're out of here. Mile High Club, give me my card.
Yeah.
You know?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855 450 free, and we've got Skype. Username is LRN.FM. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And we go to the phones, to the fun. We've got Mike calling in from Texas. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I've been wanting to call in all week, but what just happened to me kind of prompted me to. I was coming home from the grocery store, and there's a school bus in front of me, and some kid from the school district's like two hours away, but some kid in the back mooned me. So I'm wondering if I had like a dash cam, would I be guilty of child pornography?
I don't know. I would have to see whatever the statute is in Texas, but I really have no clue.
Okay,
Do you have a dash cam?
No, I don't.
Okay, then it's a complete hypothetical anyway. Mike, thanks for the call.
No, that's very interesting. All right, so you've got a security camera,
right?
And some kid, maybe the kid's in the bathroom with mom or dad or whoever, and the kid runs out of the bathroom, but stark naked. Security cameras catch it. I mean, where do you go from there? Has a crime been committed? Is that the first thing? Does the owner of that restaurant or store or wherever need to get on that as quickly as possible and start scouring those tapes to get all that off?
Probably it depends on the wording of the statute, how the statute is interpreted, how zealous the prosecutor is.
Right.
And first of all, that kid running out of the bathroom stark naked is my brother Michael. I don't know if he's listening tonight. Between the ages of 3 and 5. Every time that
was me as well. Growing up in the woods, hippie parents. I don't think I owned clothes until kindergarten. It just wasn't. It was just a lot easier, a lot clean. It was a lot easier. No clothes. You can't tear up clothes. You can't dirty them. You don't have anything to wash.
But I think you're right, Darryl. It really is going to be about what the local statutes are, and the thing is people are very sensitive to that, and it's hard to tell what would be on the books.
And I know that I've seen various documentary type movies, and I don't think documentary is necessarily the right term because it's the recreation of a true story sort of thing. To where you've got somebody that's a photographer that's taking artsy photos of their newborn niece or nephew, and then somebody at the 1 hour photo winds up calling the cops because I think I see a nipple. I think I saw a tiny little naked baby. This is child porn. And then the investigators come out and they take a look and say, yep. And then somebody that's just taking artsy photos of a newborn that's like 3 days old, they wind up going to prison for a couple of years because art. And a very strict interpretation, and I know people are going to jump on me for saying this, and I probably shouldn't even say it on the radio, but a very strict interpretation of the child porn statutes could be construed so that the Titanic, the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, that technically is child porn because Kate Winslet portrayed someone under the age of 18. And she was naked in a scene.
Because of the idea? Because she wasn't.
She was not under the age of 18, but she was portraying someone who was.
That's what I mean. So now we're talking about an idea breaking the law, which, they would never throw the book at you because of an idea, right?
So, no, they throw the book at people over ideas all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Conan.
Come on.
And
you didn't know where I was going with that?
Speaking of throwing things at people, Chris, tell us about the racist internet bot.
This is great. This is great news.
This is a good
bot
story.
Wants to throw Molotov cocktails and build a wall and make Mexico pay for it.
Wait. This is a great story. This is horrible news. This is what the internet does.
4chan is behind this somehow.
This is how the internet breaks everything.
Well, there's a lot of theories out there. Is 4chan behind it, or is this just what happens now on the internet? And that's the general line of thinking. Of course, we'll get into the story, but the company behind it is convinced that there's this vast conspiracy of people who are trying to take it down. So here's the story coming to you from Ars Technica. Microsoft has been forced to dunk Tay, its millennial mimicking chatbot, into a vat of molten steel. The company has terminated her after the bot started tweeting abuse at people and went full neo-Nazi, declaring that, quote, Hitler was right, I hate the Jews, unquote.
As well as many other expletive comments that we can't actually say on the radio.
Yeah, I'll just
read some more, but clean them up if you can.
I don't know if I can. That's the whole thing. But I can give a little background on what Tay was. Tay was a bot, and for those of you who are not familiar with the chat bot, it simply responds to things that you say to it, and it can be programmed to respond with anything. So, for example, if you type, say it's ampersand weather into your phone, into a certain website, or text it, and it responds back with your local weather, well, that's a bot. It's just responding to things. What Microsoft did in their infinite wisdom was to take this one step further. And what they did was they implemented a little bit of AI, a little bit of artificial intelligence, so that Tay tweets is what the account was called. So
basically, they were trying to make something that would be able to pass the Turing test.
I don't think they ever thought they were going to achieve anything like that, but they did want Tay to learn. And slowly,
and that's basically the Turing test, as I understand it, is something to where a computer can show some level of being able to learn and converse.
Yeah, the Turing test it's a test. You would test. So anyways, you would turn Tay tweets on for a couple of weeks, a month, however long. And at the end of the trial, at the end of the period, you would be able to have a conversation with this AI, and you would not be able to tell you were actually talking to an AI. You would think you were talking to a human.
Right. That's the Turing test.
That's the Turing test.
Okay. Well, I don't think that was Microsoft's intent at all for the first truly thinking, conversing being, sentient, was a bot of a millennial 19-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. But it's an interesting aspect of that you can kind of look at.
So basically, the internet got a hold of this. They're throwing everything and the sink at her.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
and so she's having to filter and of course...
From what I'm hearing, there was no filter.
And of course, yeah, that's what I mean. No one's asking Tay what the weather is. They are going straight into the dark webs.
Well,
to see how far, to see what would happen.
I mean, if I would have known about this, I probably would have done the same thing. I'm like, all right, well, look, what can I do to screw with this thing? But that's what happened. And Microsoft immediately came out and, there's this vast evil conspiracy to take down Microsoft. Like, again, 4chan or somebody else. And I'm sure those guys had their fun with it. But Reason has a good article that kind of disproves that whole thing, that this is just what happens now.
I think one of the big differences between this Tay tweets and something like Siri or Samsung's version Galaxy is that you can ask Siri and Galaxy some really strange, interesting questions, and it will give you a response. The difference is Siri and Galaxy aren't able to learn, per se, and their responses aren't being instantly tweeted to everybody in the world.
So we'll go into a few more, and they start out, fairly mild, at least the ones that I'm looking at. And I think the account's been taken down. I haven't even gone to Twitter to see if it's still there. But, for example, can I just say that I'm stoked to meet you? Humans are super cool. The next one up, I'm a nice person. I just hate everybody.
Wow, and we'll go through more of these Tay tweets. And is this just what happens on the internet now? Or did 4chan ruin everything? 855 450 free. And we're also on Skype. Username is LRN.FM. This is Free Talk Live.
I'm Steve Sidkowski, a former Wall Street insider. Right now, I'm holding a book that could change your life. It will show you investing strategies which could help you earn the kind of money you've always dreamed about. And right now, I'm giving this book away for free. So who needs to read it? If you're in the middle of your career and you worry you'll never have enough money to retire, you need to read this book. If you're already retired and your income isn't enough, you need to read this book. And if you don't want to be selling burgers at the age of 80, well, you need to read this free book. The reality is, you'll need at least $1 million to ever fully retire. If you're behind on that goal, you really need to read Trade Like the Pros. And you can for free by calling 1-800-656-9549. Are you skeptical that it will deliver results? It's a free book, so what do you have to lose? Find out how at 1-800-656-9549. That's 1-800-656-9549. 1-800-656-9549.
Hi, Pat Matthews again. I want to talk to you about selling online. And when I say selling, I'm talking about your home, your car, and even buying a house or a new set of wheels. There's a new kid in town, and that's buysellmakeoffer.com. The revolution has already begun, and I invite you to be a part of it. You see, get in on the ground floor because buysellmakeoffer.com never charges item fees. Can you imagine what the other guys might charge you for selling a car on their site, let alone a house? Well, buysellmakeoffer.com doesn't do that. And you can use Skype and YouTube videos to sell your products, big or small. Go right now to buysellmakeoffer.com and set up your account. For as little as $7.95 per month, you can sell up to 50 items, and they'll give you the first 30 days free just to try it out. Remember, no per item fees. Join the revolution today. buysellmakeoffer.com and tell them Pat Matthews sent you.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $2 lower at $1,222 per ounce. Silver is even at $15.36 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $416 US. Both silver and gold are significantly lower after yesterday's sharp drop. This would be a great time to take advantage of buying on the dips. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free call-in line. And has the internet ruined artificial intelligence? Well, that's the claim, and I'm looking at this Tay tweets. And the last thing that Tay tweeted was, "See you soon, humans. Need sleep now. So many conversations today. Thanks." With a heart and a couple of little stars. And then there's other things where it's just absolutely strange.
Yeah, that was straight from the Microsoft engineers taking her offline.
My favorite, though, is
to install the filters needed to prevent this from happening ever again.
Here's a question, humans. Why isn't hashtag National Puppy Day every day? And speaking of National Puppy Day, we can't necessarily have a National Puppy Day every day, but we do have Representative Mike Sylvia on the line on Skype. And Mike, maybe you could do something about New Hampshire Puppy Day being every day.
How about New Hampshire, we don't have to leash our dogs day?
Puppy Day? How did I get involved in Puppy Day?
Well, we were talking about Puppy Day, and you're on the line. So go ahead with your thoughts.
I was called to talk about a bill that finally got through the House in its entirety, the civil asset forfeiture bill, which was a real big win for us here in New Hampshire, and a good bill for liberty.
Excellent.
Imagine the idea of actually requiring a criminal conviction before the state steals your stuff. I think that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and I know that when I had been in Concord before, hearing the testimony on the bills, there were police that were on the one hand saying, we don't do this, but simultaneously saying, but if you pass this bill, we'll lose a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And also don't pass it because heroin dealers.
Yeah, they like to throw the term critical. It's absolutely critical to their operations that they have this. It's $60,000 a year in the state of New Hampshire.
Wow.
Statewide. And it's just peanuts in the scheme of their budgets. True. And they say it's critical, crucial, absolutely critical to their operations.
And but that's the money that they account for. How many boats and vehicles and jet skis are being taken off to?
Most of the asset forfeiture, at least until about a year ago, was going through the federal asset forfeiture adoption program, to where the local police could steal something, then call up the DEA or the FBI or any other number of federal alphabet agencies and say, hey, will you adopt this for us? Mm-hmm. And then they would wind up getting more money because the share, when it goes through the feds, is higher to the local police.
Yeah.
When they do it under state law, that's when the state budget winds up getting that roughly $60,000.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a little section there. There's a hole where they can take stuff that's forfeited, and even before it goes into kind of a split, it's off books, and essentially if they're going to use it for their drug enforcement activities, it just kind of goes into a black hole. So it's really pretty obnoxious. So it's a good thing to get the bill passed, and we'll at least get a criminal conviction, so assuming the Senate goes along with it.
Okay, so this bill has gone through the House of Representatives, still needs to go to the Senate, and then still needs to go to the governor for a signature.
Yes, indeed. And, of course, law enforcement will be lobbying very heavily in the Senate, so everybody in New Hampshire can get out there and talk to their legislators, the senators now. And
has the governor made any comments one way or the other whether she would support or oppose asset forfeiture reform?
I have not heard anything from the governor on this.
All right. Well, hopefully we wind up getting good information out of the Senate, and hopefully the governor winds up siding on this. And, Mike, thank you for your work on this and everything else that you have done for Liberty as a state rep here in New Hampshire.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you all.
So what do you think, guys? Will asset forfeiture reform happen in New Hampshire this year?
I think that the state police associations and the League of, I'm not sure what it is, chiefs of police or whatever it is in New Hampshire, contributes an awful lot of money to our dear governor.
I think $60,000 sounds very low to me. My question is, do they count like vehicles they use in the field that they acquire and then they use it? Are those counted as part of the $60,000? Or are they only talking about the money that they receive?
I think they're just talking about the money that winds up, and again, we're not talking about all of the police departments combined only bring in 60. We're talking the state of New Hampshire government.
Yeah, that sounds
only gets 60,000.
Oh, yeah. So what do the feds make?
Yeah, you know what that number sounds like? That number sounds like we're only going to report the change that we find in seats of cars we seize. That's how you get to like $60,000.
That number sounds very low to me.
Now, and I'll explain it again.
Go ahead.
When the city of Keene was involved in the seizure of property from Fat Stuff.
Correct.
That was through a federal asset forfeiture program, not the state asset forfeiture program. State of New Hampshire government got $0.00 off of that.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Because
that makes a lot more sense.
The vast majority of asset forfeiture, until about a year ago, was going through these federal adoption programs. So the state government doesn't see a dime of that. It's only the small handful of stuff that is used under the state asset forfeiture program, where the state government gets a dime.
Right.
That's why it's only $60,000, because they're only handling a small fraction.
Right, but it can also go to local municipalities too, correct?
Right, and we're not talking about how much the local municipalities
No, I'm talking about
get.
what the state reports, and you could have millions of dollars that goes to local municipalities or local counties and things like that, but the state, quote unquote, never sees a dime of it.
Right, and that's all that was being talked about was the state government.
I understand. I still applaud Mike's effort and everybody in the House for taking it on, and more states are. This is
right,
something that's happening across the country, and I'm glad to see it.
One of the reasons state governments are taking it on is because people are starting to realize, wait a second, nobody ever has to be convicted of anything, and also because the federal policy changed about a year ago. So, there's that desire to, now we've got to go use the state procedures where we're not going to get as much money. And politicians are saying, hey, wait a second, let's just cut this out altogether and make sure you get a conviction.
Right,
it could be a conviction for jaywalking. And as long as whatever property was stolen was somehow connected to the jaywalking, they can keep it.
All right, here's my question regarding the law. It sounds like it's a drop in the bucket. The state is not actually making the money. It's the feds that are making the money from asset forfeiture. Are they? Do they have to deal with the law, or can they just supersede it by because they're the feds?
The feds can do whatever they want, but there are still federal laws on asset forfeiture.
Right, but that's where the money is going. It's not going to the state. $60,000 is a drop in the bucket.
The federal policy, and I've said this 5 times already, I'll say it again, the federal policy on the use of asset forfeiture by local police departments changed about a year ago.
Right.
To where the feds aren't just adopting everything now. The feds are saying we will only do the federal asset forfeiture when we ask you to do the asset forfeiture on our behalf. You can't do this post hoc thing, which was being done until about a year ago, to where any agency would see stuff and then come up with, there was a federal drug crime, so DEA, come seize this stuff through us and give us the money.
But
that's not happening anymore.
Well, no. What you're saying describes what Holder came up with, and Holder said it's no longer going to be the policy of this office. No law changed. No federal law changed. That's just saying
federal policy changed. The way they're adopting stuff changed.
The policy of the guy who was in charge at that time changed. And if somebody else in that position decides, hey, I kind of like my piggy bank, I want to go back to that other way, they're absolutely free to do so. The real question should be...
But there's not been a policy change since Holder instituted the change.
Well, exactly, because we can trust our bureaucrats to not do the wrong thing. My point is that this, just like it's being taken on in the New Hampshire House and hopefully in the Senate, this needs to be taken on at every level of government.
Yes.
And it's you can't rest on your laurels. We can't sit here and say what a great job we're doing here. Everybody needs to get involved in this from the local level up to the federal.
Absolutely, and I agree, because asset forfeiture, especially civil asset forfeiture, is nothing more than theft. What do you think? 855-450-FREE.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State. Or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, March 24th, 2016. Silver is trading at $15.29 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,222 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $421. Antiwar.com reports U.S. officials are denying Iranian government complaints that they aren't following through on the P5+1 requirements to lift sanctions, saying they are not in any way blocking foreign banks from doing business with Iran. Though U.S. banks are still barred from doing business with Iran, Iranian officials have been complaining recently that foreign banks are also afraid to process deals for them over fear that the U.S. government will punish them for doing so. The banks are citing a lack of communication from the U.S. on any changes to policy and are subsequently assuming that previous threats to punish all foreign banks doing business with Iran are still in place, leading Iran to conclude that the sanctions relief is only happening on paper. State Department officials say they have been making the rounds to top business leaders in some countries to assure them that the U.S. is complying with the terms of the P5+1 nuclear deal. The banks, however, seem to be waiting for an explicit assurance that banking policy has changed, and the U.S. seems reluctant to offer that. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports without a ninth opinion to tip the scales. It appeared Wednesday that the U.S. Supreme Court is split down the middle in deciding a legal challenge that questions an Affordable Care Act mandate that all non-theological entities must pay for birth control coverage for employees. The High Court appeared deadlocked Wednesday in the case of Zubik v. Burwell, a challenge filed by a religious-affiliated nonprofit that considers it unfair how religious institutions themselves are exempt from the mandate, but not parties strongly influenced by religion. The 8 current justices heard 90 minutes of arguments on Wednesday, appearing split evenly along ideological lines. 4 conservative judges in favor of the challenge and 4 liberal judges against it. The ACA's requirement that employers pay for birth control coverage has long been controversial. Houses of worship, such as the Catholic Church, for example, are entirely exempt from the mandate and do not have to share the cost of the coverage. Affiliated parties, though, are not exempt, leading some to feel they are directly or indirectly financing birth control. The only option available to non-exempt groups is to effectively outsource to a third party the providing of birth control, so the objecting party isn't directly facilitating the coverage. That layer of insulation, though, fails to satisfy some of those up against the moral dilemma. This case is the 4th involving a challenge to the Affordable Care Act to be heard by the Supreme Court. In January, justices declined to hear a challenge to the law, which claimed Congress violated the Constitution when it passed the law in 2010. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a task force appointed by Michigan's governor said on Wednesday that state officials showed stubbornness, lack of preparation, delay, and inaction in failing to prevent a health crisis in the city of Flint caused by lead contamination in the drinking water. There were failures on all levels of government, including the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, according to a report from the task force. However, the report highlighted failures of state agencies, especially the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, and said that the state was fundamentally accountable for what happened. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder had been criticized for the state's poor handling of the crisis that garnered national headlines. Chris Kolb, task force co-chair and president of the Michigan Environmental Council, a coalition of nonprofit groups, said at a press conference in Flint, it was a mixture of ignorance, incompetence, and arrogance by many decision makers that created the toxic and tragic situation. The crisis has led to several lawsuits in state and federal courts and federal and state investigations. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
An unpopular police officer thinks about committing a racially motivated offense for a little support. A middle-aged man is having the best snacks of his life, and a housefly drops everything to go stand on a watermelon slice. This is the Onion Week in Review. Noting the youth center's ping pong table and array of DVDs and Blu-rays, local youth minister Mark Kindler told reporters this week that his church's new rec room has everything a teen could want. The youth pastor revealed that the basement facility's many teen-friendly amenities include a new Wii U console, an iPod dock for the teens to play any music they like, and some comfortable recliners for those who just want to relax or do their homework after school.
We've really gone out of our way to give the rec room a laid-back atmosphere. It's stocked with snacks, but sometimes at the end of the week, we'll spring for some pizza. Honestly, I wish I had a place like this when I was their age.
In other news, increased violence leads the State Department to issue an advisory for Americans traveling to 1861, and an elderly lobbyist is always droning on about how little legislation used to cost in his day.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Kicking off hour number 3, this is Free Talk Live. You can call in with your thoughts on pretty much anything. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we have Skype, where generally you sound better. Skype username is lrn.fm. Now, gentlemen, there's a story out of New Jersey, and I've intentionally not shared the story with either one of you because I want your gut reactions to this. There was an incident a couple of years ago, I believe, where an actor and comedian by the name of Carlo Bellario was arrested for possessing a BB gun in the state of New Jersey while filming a movie. He is now in court, and on Tuesday, he turned down a plea deal from the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office and instead has insisted he is going to trial.
Good for him.
He had a BB gun on the set it was a prop?
Yes.
Or he actually he owned it and it was in his camper while he was acting on
No. It was a prop.
Oh, during one of his... All right.
Okay.
For the movie.
Right. But air guns are regulated in the state of New Jersey.
He was charged with an offense, and he is facing up to 5 years in prison for possession of a weapon. He was offered a plea of 3 years.
Holy crap.
He turned it down, said,
generous.
Nope, I'm going to trial.
All right, what is the background of the offense? Was he shooting it on stage, or did he just have it and he was waving it around as part of his setup? Or did he actually shoot it in a audience? Or what's the background behind this?
Let me get into the story, and I believe it has some more background.
Pray. Continue.
Bellario opted for a trial, which his attorney said is a gamble, as Bellario could face a much longer sentence if convicted by the jury. The reason being, Bellario has a number of prior convictions which make him subject to the state's certain persons not to have firearms law.
Ooh.
According to the
bad
lawyer,
boy.
If Bellario were to be convicted at trial, the court could have the discretion to tack on additional time, possibly 10 or more years in prison.
To make an example out of him.
Basically, to make an example.
For challenging the state.
The Superior Court Judge Alberto Rivas told Bellario what he was risking if he did not take the plea. Rivas referred to Bellario by his given name, Carlo Goyas. Bellario is a stage name. Rivas said, "Well, Mr. Goyas, this is not your first rodeo, so you know what's at stake here. You're going for the long haul. You lose and you'll end up in the state prison for an extended period of time, especially if you have a record. Flat time 3 years, you're out in less than a year, and you may be eligible for intensive supervision."
Hold on, this is in open court?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, like right there, this is one of my problems I have with things like that. When a judge says something that inflammatory, that's just inflammatory. And knowing that this is going to get printed in the news, knowing that this is going to taint any juror that happens to read about it, whether they admit it or not during jury selection, it drives me nuts.
According to the Middlesex County Assistant Prosecutor Christopher Kuberit, Bellario has 6 prior convictions in 2 states. It does not say how long ago any of these convictions are, by the way, but among those convictions, charges of theft, credit card theft, and burglary. Rivas said, alluringly, "You could be out in 6 months, and that's what you're potentially rejecting today. But it's your call. It's your decision. You're the one who has to live with all the consequences."
Yeah, and I'm not going to try to sway anything or try to prosecute from the bench, which is what this is. This is just unwarranted pressure in what should be a innocent before proof. You're innocent until you're proven guilty, and that we just don't have that anymore. I'm sorry to say.
So, Conan, this gives you that backstory that you were looking for.
I don't know that there's enough backstory. I still want to know what he was doing with the air rifle.
Right, and this is the part of the story.
Okay.
Prior to the court hearing,
it made it sound like you'd already done.
Backstory.
Go.
Here's the backstory. Bellario had been filming a small, low-budget independent film last November called Vendetta Games in a residential neighborhood of Woodbridge, New Jersey. When police arrived, Bellario had the BB gun in his hand, though he noted during filming he thought it was merely a prop, and he also thought the director had a permit for the gun. So apparently it was a real gun. He was told it was a prop.
Well, it sounds like he's got a case. It sounds like if he can convince a bunch of old grandmas that, this he didn't know what was going on, and all these prior breakings of the law, all these prior criminal activity doesn't actually. Is that going to be brought up during a case? Is that something that can hang over his head?
They always bring up so-and-so jaywalked that one time.
Right.
That makes him a criminal.
Or he wrote
Criminals do bad things.
Yeah, he wrote a bad check one time.
Okay, well, it's all ridiculous and it's all nuts, and there is no point to this charge. There's no point to anything because everybody possesses, by being part of the human nature, a right to defend themselves. And whether they choose to own a gun, possess a gun, carry a gun, do whatever the heck they want, the government
not
is...
just gun. When people think of the
you're
Second
right.
Amendment, Second Amendment says right to keep and bear arms.
Arms can be.
Arms are so much more than just guns.
You are absolutely correct.
I want my own
point,
nuke.
My point still stands is this should not be a case. No more than this should even be a law in the books in New Jersey. This should have been struck down by the courts so viciously it would make your head spin.
And by the way, that comment I just said, I want my own nuke so I can defend myself against North Korea, not because I'm a crazy person.
You are a crazy person.
Yes, I am.
The assistant prosecutor who described the weapon as a semi-automatic BB gun said that under state law, that's a firearm.
He didn't say assault BB gun?
He did not say assault BB gun. He said semi-automatic BB gun.
So I'm assuming that the BB gun could fire semi-automatically, but it did not have a hand grip on it. Or maybe it didn't have a fake flash suppressor on the end to make it an assault BB gun.
Yeah, and it wasn't black.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what color it was. We don't have a photo.
Trust me, if it was a black air rifle, it would be an assault rifle.
assault air rifle.
Henninger, who I believe is the prosecutor, said his record increases his exposure, but whether you have the worst record or no record, if the gun was illegal for him to have, then it was also illegal for anyone else to have.
Okay.
So if he didn't own the gun, which is what our option is, someone else should be charged with the same charges.
So here's where I'm going to make the plea to Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, the NRA, who I rarely call on because I don't trust them. But every one of those groups should be jumping to this guy's defense, because this is a perfect example of state overreach, of denying somebody rights that they possess, not because government grants you any rights. They don't. These are rights that are inherent to you. You have every right to it. And to heck with this judge, and to heck with this prosecutor, and shame on every member of the legislature and the governor that passed this, who I believe was Chris Christie, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And there is at least one member of the New Jersey House of Representatives that is backing Bellario. Assemblyman John Bramnick says that common sense dictates that this guy should not be facing prison, and he's pushing legislation to give prosecutors more discretion with gun charges if it's determined that there is a lack of criminal intent.
Excuse me? Okay, well, no, I'll kind of go along with that, and I admire at least one guy for standing up to it, but that's not the solution. The solution is to get rid of these like a bad habit.
It's a baby step, kind of in the right direction, but it's an ever so small baby step.
I thought you said BB step there for a second.
Baby, as in like a toddler.
I got it.
Toddlers, they don't have a large step range. What do you think? 855, 450, free. This is Free Talk Live.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's called the Transcend Mini CPAP, and right now you can try it risk-free for 10 days by calling 1-800-945-9289. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day at-home trial. 1-800-945-9289. That's 1-800-945-9289.
Hi, my name is Nick Lupo. One World Whey has been by far the best protein that I've ever had. I take it 3 times a day. Once in the morning as soon as I wake, once for a pre-workout snack, and once for a post-workout recovery drink. It has helped me transform and sculpt my body into what I have now. I began taking the product about 2 years ago, and boy, let me tell you, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've seen major muscle mass gains and have 0% body fat. I have had people at my gym ask if I compete in bodybuilding because of how lean and muscular I am. I used to suffer from everyday aches and pains from hard manual labor my whole life, and arthritis that runs through my family. But One World Whey has helped me take that everyday pain from a 10 to a 3. Some days I feel no pain at all, just full of life and energy. It has also helped my skin look younger and healthier. Thank you, Synergistic Nutrition, for One World Whey.
Call 888-988-3325 or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And Conan, you know this. Chris, you know this, but not everybody does. That the internet was meant to be used anonymously, if you want it to be, and without oversight. But many governments and companies are thriving off of your lack of privacy that you have on the internet. ProXPN, though, can give you that privacy back. ProXPN is a virtual private network that encrypts your data right from your computer or mobile device. And ProXPN offers OpenVPN. It's the gold standard of network encryption. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, and they have Linux support as well. And unlike other VPNs, ProXPN keeps no logs of your activities whatsoever. With more servers being added all the time, ProXPN works hard to give you greater speed and security compared to other VPNs. If you're a Windows user, ask about changing your DNS settings for even greater anonymity. They accept credit cards and even Bitcoin, and if you use the code FTL50, you get 50% off the regular monthly price for the lifetime of an annual account. It ends up being cheaper per month than a really good cup of coffee. Use the internet the way it was meant to be. Go to proxpn.com right now, use the code FTL50, and take back the privacy that is your right.
Take it back.
So, any other thoughts on this New Jersey situation where the guy is an actor? He was on set, a low-budget film nonetheless, but he was on set, and he thought he had a prop gun. Turned out to be what prosecutors are calling a semi-automatic BB gun that I really don't know what that means. Like, that's a complete meaningless term to me.
It means as fast as you can pull the trigger, another virtually harmless BB pops out the other end of the gun.
But because this is a BB gun, because I've had BB guns with chambers where you can just fill it as much as you can pack in there.
Sure.
You still have to pump it every time. It's not just pulling the trigger. So if it's an air gun, if it's semi...
No, so
okay,
you also pull the trigger and pump it.
I don't want you guys to get lost in the weeds. Here's my take on the whole story. If you live in a state where people like the fine folks at the law office of Marshall, Bonus, Proetta, and Oliver actually advertise as being New Jersey BB gun attorneys, you are living in the wrong state.
This is true.
There are BB gun attorneys in New Jersey.
They have at least one member of their staff, William A. Proetta, who specializes in BB gun charges. If you are in New Jersey,
why
are you there?
Yeah, but
if you're in New Jersey and you can hear my voice, why are you there? Call, please. 855-450-FREE. Call in. Tell us why you are still in New Jersey. I-95, I know it's a toll road, but there are lanes that go northbound and south. US 1 is not a toll road. It also goes north and south. Goes all the way down to Key West, Florida, all the way up to Maine.
And I will
You can
pay,
escape New Jersey if you want
you'll pay
to.
their toll?
I'll pay your turnpike toll to get the heck out of New Jersey.
Come on up here to Canada, New Hampshire with us. It's maybe a little colder, maybe a couple degrees colder. But if you come to the Keene area, actually it's pretty warm here.
I can tell you can open carry your BB gun up here.
I've got an interesting story about New Jersey since we're on the subject.
Bashing their
No, I'm not
idiocy.
I'm not going to bash New Jersey
BB gun specialist.
in the following sentences here. So I went down to Philadelphia last weekend and I drove down. And I needed gas, and I forgot that I was in New Jersey, and I pull into a gas station, and I get out, and some guy's walking over to the car, and I'm like, oh, right, I'm in New Jersey, I can't pump my own gas.
Get the hell out of here.
Oregon's
New Jersey
like that
is
too.
one of two states where you are not allowed to pump your own gas.
And they probably take the lever off the gas handle so you can't auto press it and walk away, go back, sit in your.
They do
you
that
can't
in
touch
New York
it.
State.
Yeah, but you can't touch it anyway.
You
Oregon
can't touch it in New Jersey or Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon. I grew up with that.
And then here's the thing that's even stranger: if you're the guy whose day job or night job or whatever time of
you have to get
day,
certified to be a gas pumper.
I don't think you have to get certified.
You have to have a license.
But when
gas
you're
pumping
driving
license.
your vehicle, you can't pump your own gas, even though that's what you get paid to do.
Can you take the cap off of your gas tank?
Can I tell you an embarrassing story? An embarrassing story is after I was in basic training, and my parents drove my car out for me, which was really nice. They wanted a nice cross-country trip all the way from Oregon, where it has the same law.
Wait. Your dad punched some gas pumper in the face because he tried to touch his car without his permission, and he didn't realize where he was.
After they dropped off the car, I drove into town. I was so excited to get my vehicle back. I was 18 years old. I pulled into a gas station to fill it up, and I sat there. I'm sitting there where's the guy? Come on, where's the guy? No, nobody showed up.
That's not how they do, huh?
And then what was even worse is I intentionally went to this brand of gas station because I have a gas card, and, well, they didn't take card. It was like, no, cash only. And I was like, all right, I only came here because I had a gas card, but I'm here, so all right, give me $10 worth of gas. And it almost filled up the little rental car that I had, so there's that.
Yeah, it was very green-looking rental car you picked up there, very economic.
Yeah, it was a tiny
small
little thing that I barely fit in. Like, I fit and my suitcase and not really much of anything else.
All right. Enough of the vision of you looking like you're driving around in a clown car. Can we get back to the clowns in New Jersey? That how do people put up with this? I get it. New Jersey it votes very liberally. It has a very liberal population, but my gosh, I mean, I know.
Do you remember the scenes after the Boston bombing of everyone?
I know.
Line step walking out of their houses with practically their hands up, and the black vested military were up and down their houses. I mean,
and then they were chanting USA as their houses were being searched.
They had signs. Thank you for your service. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for the security. It's horrible.
I have friends in New Jersey. I know very conservative friends there, and I have people that are pro gun rights, and I just these people, guys, you got to stand up. You got to get rallies together. You got to hammer on your legislature. You got to hammer at the local level.
Hammer them.
Yes, because I believe owning a hammer in New Jersey is likely to be illegal by the end of the year.
But I'm sure they talk about it on the face bag.
Right.
Let you know what it's all about. But when it actually comes to voting with their feet or voting with their vote, telling their legislators how they feel, they just put up with it. Well, they stick their heads right back in the sand.
And I tell you, this has been one of the most different things that I've found in moving to New Hampshire is that I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived all over the country, East Coast, West Coast. And this is the first place where when people are upset about an issue, they go to the State House. They take it to their Board of Selectmen. They actually go out and do stuff. And
more than usual.
If more of the country would to start doing that, we could potentially see some changes.
That's because we live in New Hampshire where politics is a contact sport.
Yeah.
You can call in with your thoughts.
Take that, you dirty dim.
450 free.
You dirty rip-hab.
This is Free Talk Live.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com. So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So I just saw a headline that caught my eyes, and it did so for a number of reasons. Partly because I used to work for an airline.
Boobs?
What?
Boobs?
No.
Oh. Those are the headlines that catch my eyes.
No. Go
ahead.
So you totally threw me off my train of thought. So the headline caught my eye for a number of reasons. One of which is I used to work for an airline many years ago. About 6 years ago is when I quit.
You were a thrower.
I was a bag thrower and then a supervisor.
Which, by the way, everyone who hears that should
There's a reason they call it throwing bags. I'll leave it at that.
No, it's not just airlines. It's the mail service.
Yes.
Federal Express, UPS, USPS. They're called throwers.
Yes.
And all eyes should be open to that. And yet, no, you get your package and it looks like it's been ripped in half by a conveyor belt, and you just go on with your daily lives. So tell us about your throwing job.
No, I'm not going to talk about the throwing job. I'm going to talk about the article instead. The other reason it caught my eye is because, I've been traveling a good bit recently and will be doing so for the next month and a half or so. Headline, flight attendant accused of smuggling 70 pounds of cocaine. JetBlue flight attendant surrendered to federal authorities after allegedly trying to use her credentials to smuggle 70 pounds of cocaine through airport security. Marcia Gay Reynolds turned herself in at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York. She was charged with cocaine possession with intent to distribute. It is unclear how she got to New York, according to UPI. On Tuesday, Reynolds bolted from authorities when she was randomly chosen for an extra security screening at Los Angeles International Airport. She was wearing street clothes, carrying a bag, and holding her crew member badge. Police found 11 packages of cocaine wrapped in green cellophane, totaling 70 pounds.
All right. I am visualizing a 4-pound bag of sugar. That's pretty big. I can hardly wrap my hands around it.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
That's just 4 pounds. 70 pounds, she would have to be trucking it on a trolley.
Nah. Well, if she's a flight attendant, she's used to lugging.
She's not going to fit it in her luggage.
You could fit that. You could stuff 70 pounds into a carry-on, I bet.
Yeah. And generally, the crew members, they'll have a large roller bag, plus they have another fairly large carry-on bag.
Right.
So, yeah, you could fit 70 pounds of...
If that's all you were carrying.
And then she might have even had a purse.
Right.
Who the hell knows? But 70 pounds of cocaine, and, yep, she wound up turning herself in.
Wow. So I was trying to calculate like a street price of that, and maybe if somebody's got a calculator up, they can help me out. But I'm seeing... I'm sorry. At one point in my life when I was very young, I probably could have rattled off a number.
Grams to pounds?
No. I know there's about 28 grams in an ounce, and there's 16 ounces in a pound.
Yes.
And the street price of cocaine, depending on where I go, is either somewhere between $62 and $100. Maybe we have a caller who is more experienced in the street price of cocaine than I am.
Or somebody that's more experienced in math.
Yeah, I wonder if Common Core handles this type of equation.
I threw out the number. I didn't know if anybody had a calculator up. I'll pop one up, and I'll come back to you with that.
Okay, so when did this happen, Darryl?
She turned herself in today.
So, all right, so cocaine, drug traffic, drug mule. What's the big deal? People do it all. It's happening every day, right? What's the catch?
Right, so... I guess the thing that sort of caught me is the fact that somebody that's working for an airline was trying to run drugs, hoping that they would not wind up getting caught by security because I've got an airline badge.
Yeah, they make movies about this all the time. This is what I would do. If I was a drug mule, I would want to go get a job, working for one of these companies, whatever company is doing most of the travel. I would want to go work for them. Get in tight with them. and get entitlements. I'll
Entitlements such as? Tell me what entitlements you think airline employees get, and I'll tell you if that's accurate.
Retirement.
No.
401k.
Yes.
Probably a benefit package.
Health benefits.
While you're working there, yes, but you still have to wind up paying. Like, it's not fully covered.
How about, like, free flights?
The flight benefits differ depending on the airline.
How about coupons to the
No.
I think you guys are missing the
airport
point.
Coupons, like even Burger King? Like a free burger?
If you're on duty, some of the restaurants will give you a 10% discount, but if you're not on duty, then no.
Okay, I think you guys are really you are implying that no drug dealing organization out there has a benefit package. And I'll wager that there are drug
maybe they don't
cartels.
The CIA.
They don't cut my head off and nail me to a cross?
The CIA has a wonderful benefit package.
I'm talking about
the CIA is the cocaine importing agency.
I am talking about there's in the private market there probably are drug cartels that do have 401ks, do have probably competitive health insurance benefits, things like that. I don't know.
I wonder if this lady gets a call from CIA asking her to come work for him.
Maybe Tim knows something about 401ks for drug dealers. Tim, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Thanks for taking my call. No, actually, I don't know a lot about that. No inside baseball, so to speak, but no. No, I would guess that, as you said, there are probably some competitive organizations out there. And it's funny that you said CIA, because when you mentioned cocaine earlier, it just reminded me of Mena, Arkansas, and I was thinking, well, there's a huge, cocaine importation that was not exactly mainstream news or highly visible. But I bet they had some maybe they had some airline employees involved in that too. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. And of course they're only selling the cocaine and distributing it so that they can catch people in the act. They can catch the criminals.
Right. It's entrapment. Yeah.
Well, didn't Mena involve maybe a certain political family from Arkansas, too?
Yeah, it actually involved a couple political families.
I did not sniff cocaine off of that hooker's anus.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. No, I wouldn't have segued into that. But anyway, that's kind of funny because, when Bill Clinton was talking to his girlfriend, and Jennifer Flowers, actually, when she wrote her story of hers and Bill's tete-a-tete, if you will, for 18 years, he did all kinds of things with her, and he never denied one single word of what she wrote.
Right.
Actually, basically, I think she's still alive, surprisingly enough, but she did all the things that she said about him, and the things that she said specifically about, I call her Hillary, but Hillary, the things she said about her, about Hillary were true too, and we're seeing it today. And it's obviously there's a book called Partners in Power, which is actually regarding the Clintons. I don't know that it goes into their background as far as how they met in college and whatever else,
right?
And how they became the power couple that they are today. I really sincerely hope that. I don't want Bernie or her, and honestly, the more I hear about Trump, unfortunately, I was a supporter of Trump for a while, but in an offhand way. But now I'm thinking more along the lines that I've been thinking about John McAfee, but now that I read about him, he was born in England.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's another reason. There's another reason that he cannot be president. Just like Ted Cruz, born in Canada, can't be president, but still running.
I'll tell you.
So,
wait, you mean he can't be legally, or he can't be because you just don't believe that a non-U.S. born individual can be president?
As far as the Constitution's concerned, a natural born citizen, meaning on the soil of the United States of America.
No, that's never actually defined. Hold on, Tim. We'll bring you back. This is Free Talk Live. Your calls welcome in the remaining moments. 855-450 free.
Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction.
Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com.
There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or a special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order.
As if chlorine in our water weren't bad enough, now they're adding ammonia?
It's true. Some municipalities are now adding ammonia plus chlorine to your water supply. It's a disinfectant called chloramine. But with a trusted Big Berkey water filter, you can keep chloramine out of your water. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show EPA Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market. The gold standard in water purification. And our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Possibly time for you and your thoughts if you call in now to 855-450-FREE. There's also the Skype line. Username is lrn.fm. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And we have Tim on the line from Wyoming. Tim, you're back on Free Talk Live. You were talking about the Clintons, and Conan, you had a question that I don't recall what it was, that we never got Tim's full answer.
The constitutionality of foreign individuals and their ability to become president.
Yes, American citizens that were born overseas, or not necessarily overseas, but outside of the United States. So John McCain, born in the Panama Canal Zone. I don't know any Republican that said John McCain was not eligible to wind up being president. Ted Cruz, born in Canada to American parents. And some people are saying he's not eligible. Other people are. And it's been challenged in a couple of courts, and the courts have basically thrown it out.
Well, I understand why the courts have thrown it out, because it's a political hot potato.
Right.
Nobody wants to incur the wrath of the dictator in chief, whoever that happens to be at the time.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Tim. If the courts are supposed to uphold the Constitution and they're not doing it, then who's going to prevent Ted Cruz from taking the oath of office if he winds up getting elected?
Well, how about the constitutionalists of the country who actually will stand up and make sure that their voices are heard?
The same way they somehow prevented Barack Obama from being sworn in 7 years ago?
Well, I want to jump
Barack Obama from Somalia?
That actually wasn't.
I'll jump in to defend Tim a little bit here. I agree with you. If we expect the government to follow the Constitution when it's things that are important to us, like protecting the freedom of speech or protecting our natural right of self-defense under the Second Amendment or things like that, then I am one of those guys that says, okay, if we are, I'll say, stuck right now in a constitutional republic, allegedly, then at least the least we could do is try to follow the rules and hopefully let it give it its best opportunity to work as well as it possibly can.
You know, North Korea also has a written constitution.
Yeah.
And North Korea's constitution also supposedly recognizes the freedom of speech, the right to assemble, the right to petition your government for redress.
I'm not talking about that.
They even recognize the right to travel. The U.S. Constitution doesn't even recognize that.
See, since I've sold my vacation home in North Korea, it doesn't really worry me. But what it does,
I'm just saying,
I know
there are republics with written constitutions that claim to support rights, but they don't.
Believe me, I know that. But what I'm saying, Tim, is I don't disagree with you that if you're going to, if you are going to say and you're going to take an oath and you're going to swear that you are going to uphold the Constitution, uphold and defend it, then be consistent. And you got to be that way across all of it. And the problem is, and I'm not convinced that a constitutional republic can actually work. Also, all signs to me seem to point to not very likely. Try again later. But you have to do that.
Right.
And then also, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was going to say, as far as a constitutional republic, with an idiotic populace, a constitutional republic who has a population of a country that has a population whose collective, let's say the average IQ of the country is around 90, maybe. And I don't even know what average IQ is.
I think the average is about 100 to 105.
I'm very surprised to hear that, but that's anyway.
You and me both.
Yeah, that's
thanks, fluoride.
Anyway, yes, fluoride chemtrails. Let's see what else.
The look on Darryl's face.
Yeah, let's all eat our toothpaste and smoke our corn syrup. And sorry. Anyway,
thank you, Tim, for the thought. Let's go back to the whole, like constitutional republic, natural born, whatever. The term natural born citizen is not defined anywhere in the Constitution.
Right. There are a whole bunch of words.
It's completely up to interpretation of what somebody thinks a natural born citizen is.
No, I'm going to go Judge Napolitano on you and say that, no, not every word and every phrase in the Constitution is defined in the Constitution, but all one has to do is go back to say, Webster's Dictionary of 1828, or look at the ratifying conventions, which we have good documentation on, and try to understand what these people were talking about.
So what do the ratifying documents say about natural born citizen?
I'm not saying one way or the other, and I didn't say that. The only thing I said is be consistent. But I would suggest that there is an alternative to taking everything through the federal courts, which represent who? The federal government, as an alternative, how about...
Okay, so you go to the New Hampshire Ballot Law Commission, which several people did here in New Hampshire to try to remove Ted Cruz, and the Ballot Law Commission said, we aren't able to make this determination. It's outside of the scope of what we exist to do.
You know, the correct question that people should be asking, rather than who gets to be my master for the next 4 years, is why do I need to choose a master for the next 4 years? Regardless of where they're from. If they're from Mars, I don't care. Why do I want? I don't want one.
I don't want one either. Let's go to Skype. Farty McFly. Farty, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Conan.
Farney McFly.
Nice. Thank you. You were on hold for like 4 minutes, and you called twice to do that.
I hope he did that with a soundboard, and he wasn't actually like holding that for the call.
Oh, that'd be awesome if it's actually real flatulence.
Oh my God,
human flatulence.
I got to sit through another break.
Did it through his mouth? I don't know. Conan, game of the week.
Last week we talked about Game of Thrones. I wish we talked about Walking Dead for about 20 minutes, and I didn't find this game because of that conversation. I just kind of stumbled across it. It's been out since summer of last year. It's called Walking Dead: No Man's Land. If you like XCOM and you like the turn-based strategy where you have certain characters with certain abilities and you can level them up and throw armor, train them, throw better armor on. There's a little bit of city building involved.
Yep.
Where you upgrade your residence, and then you go on these turn-based battles against zombies, and it's fun. It's very, very pretty. It is the official game, so it's not. There's a lot of generic Walking Dead games out there. This is the official. It's got some of the characters and some of the same voice actors. It's got the same guy who does the musical score, which is beautiful. I love the musical score of Walking Dead.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I have played this game, and I'm not no longer a big PC gamer, a console gamer, or an Android gamer. I kind of, sometimes I'll pick something up and I'll play it for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But what I did like about this was, number one, you have different character classes. So
you got shooter, hunter,
like hunter
and tank.
Yeah.
Bruiser.
But basically, they have different qualities and different attributes, and there is definitely some strategy involved in who you send into what type of battle. The other thing I liked was there are certain battles you go into that there is no regeneration. They're
deadly battles where you will actually lose your characters.
Right.
They'll warn you, say, this is a deadly battle.
Right. You sure you want to do this?
Yeah, if you die, you're not getting your guy back.
You can go pick a weenie one, but in this one, the reward is big, but you could lose one of your crucial players.
Right.
And
now,
I like that.
This is a freemium game. Which does it well, and that there's a lot of game producers that'll shoot themselves in the foot because they make it impossible for the free-to-play players to actually get anywhere.
Right.
But if they do it right, and the reason I like this game is because you upgrade something and it'll be ready for you 3 hours from now.
You can pay to get it done instantly.
Or you can pay for it.
Right.
The reason I like this type of game is because I don't sit there and play it for 2 hours straight. I'll log in and play it for 10, 15 minutes, which is perfect for like bathroom breaks, and that's it.
More information than we needed, but
hey,
I
you know what? You
got to
do something. You got to. I mean, I don't have Reason. I don't get Reason magazine anymore.
That's what Facebook is for. Just sit there on your phone with your feet up on your squatty potty.
I would rather beat up on some zombies.
That's why phone screens are some of the filthiest surfaces in the planet.
And but I will also admit that I don't even have it on my phone. I play it on BlueStacks on the computer, 40-inch screen. It's beautiful. It looks good. Definitely recommend it.
And what was the name of that game again?
Walking Dead: No Man's Land.
Walking Dead: No Man's Land is Conan's game of the week. Hopefully you've got something that actually interests me next week, because I don't really care about Walking Dead. I don't care about
Candy
zombies.
Crush for Darryl.
No, don't care about that either. Hey, we're out of time for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 to 10. We're online at freetalklive.com. Until then.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. the last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $2 lower at $1,222 per ounce. Silver is even at $15